up for the storms hit.
Yeah, all the time in the world, John. All the time in the world.
Oh, I'm going to do it sitting down this week. I'm not going to stand. I'm not going to stand for this. So, welcome to the May Omaha Linux Users Group meeting. I am your host, Ricardo Montalban.
Hi,
The plane! No, I'm Jon Larsen, systems engineer. You all know that. For those at home, I'm a systems engineer at the AIM Institute. Hello. Those playing the home game. And this month, let's do a little follow-up from last month when I discovered in the middle of the presentation that the mailing list had not been delivering anything for about 15 days. So that was a DNS resolving issue if you didn't read the message on the list. That was fixed. It's been fixed several times since then. I should say the DNS has been changed a few times since then. All the mail is going out. Not everybody could click their emails, like Mr. Thacker, to get his account re-enabled. I'm happy to say that as of, what was that, 3 o'clock or 3:30 this afternoon, the SSL certificate has been updated and you can get to the list control panel and do whatever you want now. So everyone, there was much rejoicing. Everyone is happy. So I manually went through last month and reactivated all the mailing list subscriptions. And for some reason yours bounced again. I don't know why it bounced again.
How long ago?
This was when you emailed me and said you couldn't.
I don't know.
How many actual people are on the OLUG?
There's about 300 and some. And there were 218 that had their bits set that could not receive mail. And after the meeting and the next morning, it was down to 198. So the people who were in the meeting were able to reset their stuff. So everything's happy in OLUG land. Woohoo! Except Rod Hurley, who ordered a shirt and it was the wrong size. So I'm sure he'll get that sent back.
Much too small.
Yes.
And the
So-
world did not rejoice.
In the news, the Intel Ivy Bridge motherboards have been released. Chips are still coming, I believe, or they're out within this week.
There was an Intel chip on Newegg last night.
Then they are out. All right then, because I think they were two weeks separated between the two events. The Intel 4000 HD graphics, which is a DirectX 11 part. The Linux driver pretty much works. It's feature complete because of all the work they did with Sandy Bridge. So I saw that on Phoronix the other day. Google Drive has been released. If you don't know what that is, it's the new name for Google Docs. And the Linux version is coming, which will give you a folder on your desktop, which is essentially the view of your Google Docs, and you can upload anything into it. So it's just like Dropbox.
URLs will take care of themselves.
And the only sad thing is that the prices kind of went up for storage. So for instance, I was paying $20 a year for 80 gig for my Picasa account. And that was spread across all of my other Google services with the same account.
Right.
When that morning that drive was released, I suddenly went from 81 to 87 gig. I was like, something must be announced today. And it was announced, sure enough, later in the day.
But your Picasa has been folded under the drive prices.
Yes, as long as I do not buy more storage, I am grandfathered into that price plan.
Okay. Because I had about the same thing going. And
Yeah.
I haven't looked at Picasa for a couple of weeks.
Okay, so as long as you stay with your existing price plan,
Okay.
you're fine.
All right.
Now, if we had the foresight to pay for the 200 gig of storage, we could have come out a lot better in this in the long run. but hey, whatever.
It is what it is.
If you've ever used Duplicati on Windows or the Mac, and there is a Linux version too, one of the options is allowing you to back up to Google Docs. So those are encrypted backup files. You can put in its own folder and store your backup in the cloud. Works with S3 and a few other things too. But it's kind of a nice way of putting things. It's easier for me to put my pictures in a folder that automatically syncs than to set up a separate sync. There's a command line utility called Google CL, where you say Google Picasa post, and then you say these JPEGs, and it uploads it automatically from a command line. There's a lot of automated stuff that you can do too. Do you need to charge?
Yeah, just gonna plug it in here.
Okay. Ubuntu was released April 26th. What is the name? Precise
Pangolin.
Pangolin. We're in the P's. Can you believe that?
So this is a long-term release.
Yep.
Let's see. Other.
Is that 5 years?
5 years?
4?
5? Yeah, 5 years. Over the last week, there's been a lot of talk about Mark Shuttleworth taking over the world with his portable devices.
Yes.
Because
He's mobile mad.
he's mobile mad. He wants to be on every mobile device, and he wants those mobile devices to dock and run Ubuntu. It was also announced that, I think it was 2 weeks ago, that Kubuntu, the KDE flavor, is no longer going to be supported by Canonical. It's now going to be supported by a company called Blue Systems.
Okay.
And I am not sure exactly what Blue Systems claim to fame is.
Yeah, I'd never heard of them before that either.
KDE development, but they're going to be, Canonical had maybe 1 to 1.5 full-time developers, and Blue Systems is saying they're going to have 4 full-time developers on Ubuntu.
Interesting.
So there may be some more resources coming in there.
That's good. Does anybody know what Tizen is? Anybody know what Moblin is?
Yes.
Migo? Those are all the previous names for Tizen. So, Intel developed a product called Moblin. It was based upon Fedora. It was a netbook, Chrome, self-contained, boot off a flash, netbook kind of operating system. Then they partnered with Nokia because they wanted to use it, and that's why they called it Migo, because it's going to be on phones and netbooks and things like that. Then Nokia made a deal with Microsoft to do Microsoft phones. And the earnings report this last week shows you how well that's turned out. So Intel took it back over, renamed it to Tizen because I think they partnered with a Chinese firm. So version 1 came out today. I have not had a chance to look at it. I have messed with Migo before. There was several different flavors of it. One was a in-vehicle infotainment system, and that's what I was most interested in, and that's what I most played with. Because it had navigation and maps and stuff, and the navigation worked, whereas you move the mouse over to one side and the little menu would pop out and have a little circular thing, and you could make your choices, and at least that was one of the options
I think
a
I
long
remember
time
seeing
ago.
that. Do you have it on something?
I think I did demo a little bit of it once.
Yeah, you did.
So I haven't looked at Tizen yet. I'll probably take a look at it. I'm still trying to decide.
You heard
But you never know. Maybe a 5-inch Galaxy player will be best for the car. Mount it to the dashboard. That might work best rather than having to always take your phone in and out of the car. Fedora 17 Beefy Miracle comes out on May 22nd.
Now, the
They've got
Fedora
dice,
release
right?
name
And they
has to be
shape the
related
dice.
to the previous release.
Yes.
So could you maybe
Magic 8 Ball.
Up to maybe 13 or 14, I
Okay, the last
see
one was
the
Vern,
progression.
right?
Fern.
You like Jules Verne.
Oh, Vern, okay.
Okay. And through strong voting support, Beefy Miracle was chosen. Now, Beefy Miracle came from a Fedora user developer conference a couple years ago. There was a lot of artwork made and t-shirts to celebrate the fact that they had this fun moment. It was a meme of the conference.
Okay.
All right. So it was voted on and it got in because it had a lot of support. It was actually voted on for 16 as well.
Okay.
All right.
But
So
it's not related to
it's
Vern.
not related, but they tried to relate it. I don't remember the whole story. Anyway, voting for Fedora 18 was supposed to take place at the end of March. Due to the naming of Beefy Miracle, the legal department had postponed the voting because they were worried about the name choices. Now, I don't remember what the name choices were, but they needed to have several things cleared. Now, some people are arguing that we don't need release names because of the whole Beefy Miracle situation. I'm not going to say debacle. In one way, I think it's cute. Another way, it's not professional. But take your pick, whatever. Some religions do not like the fact that the Beefy Miracle picture, and I will show you. Let me show you the picture. All right. If you go to beefymiracle.org, you will see it is a hot dog. So,
I feel offended because I don't see ketchup.
well, okay.
I feel offended. I don't see relish.
Yeah.
So,
Of course, he's standing. The relish would,
Who would have fallen off?
so it looked bad, laying on the ground.
these were some pictures from the conference. Anyway,
What's the deal? Is he skewered with chopsticks? What?
it's limbo.
Limbo.
Oh, okay.
Hello. Can the wiener go?
So anyway,
Right.
I
It's
saw
just-
a blog post today that said maybe they should name 18 Spherical Cow because it's related. So it's getting a little out of hand. So that's we'll have to wait and see what happens.
I think they should call it Fedora 18. Just
Me
a
too.
hunch.
I think it'd be hilarious if somebody said, "Let's vote for Fedora Core." They haven't used Core since what 8? So
So my current plan is $20 gig for 5 a year. My upgrade would be 25 gig for $249 a month.
$2.49 a month.
For
Yeah.
drive and because.
Well, do you use a lot of pictures?
Well, it says I'm using 0. I find that hard to believe
I'm-
because I've got several.
I uploaded a bunch this week and now I'm using 2.
Got several hundred pictures up there, but they must not be that.
Well, anything you upload to Google Plus, it doesn't count towards that. It's like if you upload something and share it as part of a post,
Right.
that doesn't count towards your total.
Okay. How does play music on play fit into
It doesn't. It's a separate.
this? Okay.
That is a limit of files,
That's a
like
song. count.
20,000 songs. Yes. I have 365 albums in mine. I went through and re-ripped all of my CDs, uploaded them all, packed them in boxes, and sealed them in plastic cellophane, that packing stuff,
I haven't gotten.
so there's no
back
dust
to it
getting
yet.
into them. Yeah. So get your meta tags correct before you upload. So use Picard, for Music Brains.
I like Bubble Tag.
Okay. Does it talk to Music Brains?
You can make it talk to you.
Okay. If not, you can do. There's a
CDDB or-
free CDDB. There's a interface for Music Brains for free CDDB. Somebody wrote an interface program.
But when I re-ripped stuff, I used the ABCDE. I found that was very simple.
Does it allow you to control what type of files are produced?
Yeah, actually, there's a config file. I could do that next month, because it's about a 15-minute presentation.
That sounds great.
And he volunteers.
And I don't have to.
As long
as
I don't have to beg for it now.
Yeah, I actually had it spitting out MP3s, FLACs for archiving, and just for fun, I put OGs in there too, but I threw the OGs away.
For the most part, the once I uploaded them, I erased them. Except when I originally did all my Rush CDs, I did them at like 128. So I was doing everything at 320 now. So I supplanted those out of my regular folders. So I deleted the old ones and put the new ones in.
I think the quality level in the config file for the 320 says insane.
Well, good. Does it allow you to do settings like joint stereo and stuff like that?
I didn't dive that deep into it. I was just looking for KBS, the bit rate,
Yeah.
and I pretty much stopped there.
Okay.
The type of files, but I'm pretty sure you could. 'Cause there's a lot of configuration settings.
Yeah, I had to use lame. I was using lame command line tags. I set mine like 5 years ago and stopped touching it. So I just bring my grip file forward. I tried to use Sound Juicer. I tried to use all these other files, but grip always produced the what I wanted better than the other programs. So we can talk about both of those next month.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Okay,
Uh-oh.
Ah,
Uh-oh.
this has not been talked about outside of me and Adam talking about things.
Presidente hasn't heard.
The Presidente has not heard it either. I'm wondering if we should have a new logo design. Something that we can put on t-shirts. Something that has the penguin in it. The actual Linux penguin. Many moons ago,
In a land
He has
far,
to specify everything. It's screwed.
in a land far,
if you
far
go
away.
way back, I love the internet. Okay. These were a couple of designs that Eric did. Now, Eric redid this logo. And he produced the SVG and stuff like that. That's why it looks so clean. Jay had some submissions as well. But it's very similar to the existing one. So on and so forth. But, and I actually had found his email that linked the real person's logo that they did. The original logo submissions. So those were ones that were submitted. Obviously, this is the one that was chosen, but these are some other ones that were in the past.
Okay.
A lot of these are way too busy to put on a shirt.
Yeah.
So-
Like that, but
It's probably your
set by for using Husker
The
stuff.
Husker stuff's all trade.
Yeah, that's why that was not chosen. But this goes back to 2000.
However, now, but would we be able to swipe the O? I've noticed lots of nonprofits around town will occasionally use the Chamber of Commerce's O exclamation point.
Yeah. My thought was something along the lines of this. Or #bang OLUG. See, I thought that would incite a laugh. Because you could use it as essentially, so Twitter's is what, hashtags?
Yeah,
Identica uses bangs.
thanks.
in a way, it like covers it, doesn't it? So it's not a stylized font, but maybe it could be something similar. So these are just something that was popping in my head earlier this month. Because I was looking at the t-shirt designs. I was in the Cafe Press store, and the logo doesn't work well on a black shirt. I can reverse the colors, but then they're not the same colors.
Mm-hmm.
If it was a more blocky design or something more consistent, then we could probably do better with how the shirts look. So that is just something that I kind of was thinking about, and I'm open for input.
I think it could be fun.
I think it could too, because that's 2000, and they redid it again in 2004, because we needed the logo done for the banner. That's why he did the EPS and the SVG version.
Now, is this only open to members, or could I recruit some outside?
You might be able to recruit some outside people. They need to look at.
You know what I'm thinking.
I would look at the original Linux Penguin design and what the use rules is for that.
Okay.
Considering I see it in the back of every Linux magazine attached to any company, I don't think it's too much of an issue. So
I will easily anti-vote anything with a Husker emblem on it.
that's fine. As long as I don't, if it says olug.org, that's fine. You don't need a www, you don't need the HTTP, you know, or you're thinking of branding standards. That's something I was thinking
Should I
about.
work with a marketing company so I can get a color all our own?
Yeah, sure. But, you know, are we traditionally red? Because it's the Husker State? No,
It's the Chiefs.
not necessarily.
It's because of the Chiefs.
Be careful. We're getting into areas we may not be able to control. But, you know, that was just something I thought was interesting with the whole hashbang thing. It could be a stylized, angled OLUG or whatever, or maybe it's just that, you know. Of course, it doesn't tell anybody what that's about.
No, that'd be an inside joke.
Yeah.
And then it wouldn't be very funny.
So,
I know. Let's make it a 2D.
a 2D?
Yeah. We'll just make it a 2D. That way everybody has to walk up to it. Use their smartphone to figure out what that one
You
is.
mean a QR code?
Yes.
Yeah? Well, that's me usurping my
You
authority.
could do a QR code on that.
But darn it, I plan these meetings. I can put forth
Amen.
what I want. So.
Hallelujah.
So this was
Can you talk for a minute about anything?
Yep.
Redoing the logo.
Do you mind your broadcasting?
We're going to step away for a moment.
No, I meant stand up here for a second. I have to.
Why are we redoing it? Just old?
Yeah, it's old.
Okay.
Well, let's put it this way. Back when I joined, back around 2000, that's basically what we've been using.
Back since before I think it's before I heard of Linux. Before I heard of Linux.
I was asked to roll my first server, and I'm like, holy crud. How do I find someone to, help with this? I spent 6 months trying to find something like OLUG. And I've been pimping it ever since.
We were all noobs at one point.
Unfortunately.
I had this email server I had to figure out.
I still claim noob status.
I do every chance I get. Doesn't fly with anybody that matters, but
That's true.
that's interesting. This is like pink on his screen. That bottom left one,
Uh-huh.
Oh, bottom left.
or bottom left.
Do this.
No, it's kind of a pinkish color on his screen,
Interesting.
but this has this is more of a red.
Which is probably, I imagine, what he wants. I don't think you're gonna get anyone going for pink.
You know, I got no problem with it. It works well across black shirts.
How did your presentation go during Infotech?
I read the comments, and overall it was well. I thought I kept my negative comments to a minimum, but somebody did point out that I was kind of negative at one point. So, which I had to go back and think about it. I'm like, okay, I think I know the spot that individual was talking about. But overall,
Is there a certain brand name associated with that negativity?
I
Just
did.
saying.
You know what? I did not mention anything about the company I was talking about.
Okay.
Not during, not after, not before.
Oh, okay.
And I was asked repeatedly that day by different individuals for that information, and I wouldn't give it.
That's good.
Infotech went really well.
It did.
It was like
it was a
over
blast.
1,000 people. And you couldn't get back into town, could you?
I was in town, but I was hammered.
No.
I flew out the day that it was on Tuesday and came back Tuesday night.
Oh, jeez.
And Wednesday I got up and I was like, I want to go. No, I don't. Yes, I do. No, I don't.
I
No,
tell you
I
what, who
I've
was
been roped into an endless series of transition conference calls, but I got a job out of it, so.
Oh,
Yay! Okay, so
I gotta move there too.
Infotech was really good. If anybody didn't get the chance to go, Infotech was extremely
I
good.
do have one comment.
Extra.
though. I got email from somebody
Well,
pimping their
see what we-
products,
we'll have that
saying that it was
soon.
really interesting to
Take
talk to
down.
me when I was at the conference. Because I did sign up. I intended to go.
how did
Probationary
You
period.
tell me. I sent them a reply back and said, I didn't go, so don't email me again. Or you'll be sorry. You'll be
Okay.
Sorry. I have many gigabytes of bandwidth.
Okay.
I can make.
I have a website I can help with.
Come on.
Okay, so for those of you who were there or those of you who could not make it,
Oh, you got
I recorded the first ever Infotech Quiz Bowl.
Using your laptop?
No,
Okay.
using a
All right, I shut the door.
camera with a boom mic. Now I know this is going to be a little low, but
David Institute, thanks for sticking around to the end, the last session of Infotech. We try to make these
I'll
a
just
little
show
bit
you
more
a
fun.
little bit.
We learned a long time ago doing these conferences that nobody wants the last day of a conference for like 5 o'clock, so this is the one session we have.
I'm going to skip ahead here.
So after this, we have the door prize.
there we go.
Is it Caddy or Baby?
So these people had buzzers on their tables that they would have to hit.
You should know. So if you have, no matter what your position is in the IT
And
field,
there was audience participation.
that you know. So, without further ado, if we're all ready, let's get started. The first one's kind of a softball. Who's the creator of out of my mouth yet, and Aaron's chiming in. Who is the creator of Linux? Team Red Panda, I believe. That was yours. Oh, Team Narwhal. Sorry. John.
Team Narwhal.
My bad. Sorry. No bias, I promise. Team Narwhal. Who is the creator of Linux? Let's see if that's correct. I'll be darned, it is correct.
So it's about
1
42
point for
minutes long. It's pretty funny
that was the easy.
to watch Aaron and Adam. It was funny.
Communicate.
Communicate
What was the
with
name
each other.
of the first general purpose
Electronic computer.
Aaron.
Team Red Panda. Is that your final answer?
Take it ahead, go to the other team.
No, I had to
That's actually
downsample the
incorrect.
video from
Let's go
HD,
to
so.
Team Narwhal. Go ahead. Go ahead, Team Narwhal. Any ideas? I think you get it.
IMAC?
Say that again.
IMAC?
How would you spell that?
ENIAC.
ENIAC. And the answer is? It is indeed ENIAC. Well done, Team Narwhal. The Electronic Numerical Integrator.
Look at Aaron.
Created at the University of Pennsylvania in 1946.
It was used for doing only mathematics.
So that was the true general purpose computer until they took it to the next step.
I just was.
I will be polite.
Listen.
I may not be
Let me
right.
tell you why you're wrong.
Let me tell you why you're wrong.
General purpose in this case, meaning general purpose mathematical calculations, which is the point of a digital computer. So whether or not it's just used for artillery shells really is moot, because it does general purpose math. The usage of it is immaterial. The point was, it was a general purpose computer.
Sure.
That is the nicest I've ever heard Aaron put
So
for you.
Sure.
I will probably post the list
If
at some
by
point.
sure you
Yeah.
mean-
It is pretty funny. I got to work it, so I suddenly was like, "Can you do the scores?" Sure. So, in the people who were sitting in the audience, all they had to do was go to a URL. There was a sheet of paper on the table with a QR code, and they scanned it. It took them to the website for the form that they could fill out all the answers. So I had a laptop, and I was doing all the answers, saying this answer's right or this answer's wrong. So when a question would come up, it would just be like boom, 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 boom. So I had to do 1 or 0. 1 being correct, 0 being wrong. But there were some answers where you had to type answers in. And there was one question about, what was the name of the alien in the Star Trek original series episode Arena did Kirk fight? Right? So,
Wikipedia.
yeah, well, you can't use a computer. But some people wrote your mom
Of course.
as an answer. It was cute.
That's what I would have done.
So that the video was
No, wait. Sorry, it's my mom. Forgot to turn my volume down.
so that's that. So can somebody turn the light back on, please? It's all my delaying tactics.
Dun, dun, dun.
Oh,
Happy May Day, everybody.
how many people know what System D is?
It's a rapper, right?
Sort of.
He has shoes that are untied.
System 5 replacement.
Correct. It's a replacement for the System V init service. Init being what always? PID number 1. It controls the starting of daemons and services, and it is Linux only. It is in use by several distributions. Suzy has gone to it. I believe Mint, I think. I know Mandriva has.
So you're gonna.
I'm not sure about Ubuntu, though.
You're gonna touch on the why.
Why?
Yeah.
Wasn't there
Because
was another
init
one,
is like 30 years old.
well, there was another one between there, wasn't there?
Upstart.
Upstart.
Yes.
That's what Ubuntu's using.
That's what Ubuntu is using.
Yeah.
Now, Fedora was using Upstart as well.
And Debian started too, I think.
Yeah. But you can get Systemd in the Debian installation if you want. It's essentially a ground-up rewrite with a whole bunch of tools built in to assess a given system and give more feedback from it. Control groups limit, account, and isolate resource usage of processing groups. Now, if I had more time today, I could have given you a better explanation of that, but things didn't quite go so well at work today. So, control groups I don't think are specific to Systemd, and I might be wrong, but Craig will check that on for me.
What am I checking?
Control group.
Control group. Check.
So you can assign like a profile of a group of some sort that these will come up for a given box. It does remain compatible with the Linux standard base and the init scripts. So you can kind of use one or the other, although they want you to kind of rewrite them for Systemd. It does support the on-demand daemon startup just like Upstart does. However, you can do snapshots and restore them from that, which is kind of interesting. It does provide rescue and emergency mode for system startup. I've noticed that when I've done some rescue stuff recently, like going to run level 1 in Fedora, it's just like, boom, you're right there. It doesn't take that long at all to get into it. All these laptops were used at Infotech, and they all have Fedora on them for the QR scanning. To change them back, I had to go into rescue mode because of the way Adam had them set up. I could not, because it automatically logged in and automatically ran his software to do all the stuff. So when we handed them out to people, they didn't have to worry about knowing how to use Linux. So if you power it up, you'll have to choose Linux because it's defaulted to Windows. But it is LXDE. And it may or may not have a browser installed. We stripped everything out. If you want a browser, let me know and I will come over there and get you a browser. And it does support parallelization of services starting up. Okay? So you can have stuff fire up at the same time. I spent a Saturday messing with this. I went through all of Leonard's old blog posts that he started like 2 years ago. And some of it's really advanced, some of it's pretty basic. So I just tried to stick with the basics on it.
So you're asking about C groups?
Yeah.
According to Wikipedia, Linux kernel feature to limit, account, and isolate resource usage.
So it's part of the kernel itself.
CPU,
Okay.
memory, disk I/O, etc. of process groups, and it was started by engineers at Google.
Okay. If I remember correctly,
I have some
you can.
chime in on that too.
Okay.
Okay, so Fedora docs say they're hierarchical,
Mm-hmm.
inherit from one to the other. And each hierarchy is attached to one or more subsystems. A subsystem is a single resource, such as CPU time or memory.
Okay, that's how it, all right. Also, and I don't remember this if this was a specific system D item or not. This is more in the advanced area. You can change the configuration file and say, you cannot touch root, or I mean a home. So the server starts up, it will never be able to touch home. You can restrict the resources it can get to so it can't mess with it.
Sort of like SE Linux?
Yeah. I don't think it has the same context in the terms of you're saying, you know, run this SE troubleshoot or the SE policy set. But you can kind of just say, I'm in TP. You only need access to Etsy and var run. That's it. George isn't here, probably because it's a Leonard pottering thing. Georgian doesn't like Leonard's changes to Linux. Sorry, George, if you're listening. So most of the time, everybody was used to doing the old init scripts, the old-fashioned way, you know, Etsy, init, d, and then your name of the item. It's either start, stop, or one of the many different options. Okay? This changes things, and you have to do the whole line. So httpd dot service. So you're identifying it as a service. Okay?
All right.
So let's find a service that I have running. Start, stop. So, Avahi. Daemon service. It stopped. You notice there's no feedback. It's just like a regular Linux command. You're only going to get feedback if there's an error, right? So, same thing.
Stop it again. No,
How about this? Let's make sure that it did stop. It still says it's running, doesn't it? Maybe I can't stop it.
I was just wondering if you could.
It might be dependent. It's cherooted. So what else do I got here? I got
Stop
UDEV. Yeah, cups. That's easier.
Yeah, if you plug in any USB drive, you won't be able to do it anymore.
Okay, cups is stopped. Right? Inactive, dead. Gives me a date and time. I don't know. Can you guys see that back there okay? All right. So we'll go back. We'll start it up. Get our status. There we are again. It's running. Your PID. Here's your control group. Command line. Says it's enabled. Date and time. 1 second ago.
What's with the dot service?
That's just their identification of stuff as a service. I'll have a comment about that. Dot service, yeah. It adds complexity to it, right? But if I say service cups stop, see how it redirects it? The service command is still there. It's just intercepting it. So if you're one of those people who's used service and then the command, nothing much has changed for you. It's still the same. I don't remember when service came around. It's still pretty a long time ago. It was just so that the Windows people could have something easier to remember than a path to a program. Right? So if you want to list all your services and that ran at boot up, you can just run the command by itself. It auto pages. You don't have to do anything, right? So, what do we got? We actually have our devices in here. Here's my audio controller, Wi-Fi, my flash stick, which I'm running my presentation off of, and then all the devices. There's my CD-ROM drive. So, AK mods, where is that? It's down here. It's failed. I don't really have any AK mods. I could probably get rid of that. I'm not using it. Who cares, right? But here's my mounts. The sys stuff for the kernel. Here's some systemd stuff for passwords. This is the
Advanced bug reporting tool.
advanced bug reporting tool. Thank you. Easier to remember for you than me. And then we've got our services which start down near the bottom. You can see the states. So IP tables has exited. libvirt is exited, but iSCSID is running. I probably don't need iSCSI running on my laptop. So I could probably get rid of that service. Well, we already showed the status. What targets are active? So system control, let's list units. I've never really done this before, so type equals targets. I don't have any. Hooray! I don't remember what a target is, I'm sorry. Killing a service can be simple as system control kill name.service. Disabling is pretty easy. Enabling is also the same. But this is the really fun one here. Disable and prevent a manual start. You can do it so that no one will ever be able to run that program. Because it's not needed, right? So you're essentially, you're linking the service name to dev null. And then you just do a reload, and nobody could restart.
Nobody can restart dev null.
Well, nobody can restart iSCSID. let's do iSCSI D. Let's see, system D, system, service. What was it? System control. Let's see what happens to my X11 system here.
It's dash.
Oops.
Dash.
Okay. No.
Still there it is.
Masked. It's still active. Okay. So we should probably kill service. Should probably just run the status command on it. But it's nice that it's mostly alphabetical. So there it's gone. Not to be seen again because it's near the top. The iSCSI service is different than the iSCSI D because I'm not serving out stuff. It's a laptop. I don't need to serve it out again.
Yeah, one's the target, one's the initiator.
Yep. So, do I really need send mail running on a laptop?
Oh, why not?
But what if I'm trying to improve my boot time? So I'm essentially
SSD.
yeah. So, what is the name of that tool? Is it boot? It's boot chart. System D and boot chart will work together and present that nice little chart of how much each thing takes, so you can do it initially, shut down a bunch of stuff in System D, and then rerun it again and see how much you've improved on your boot time. Now, when stuff starts up on the system, you don't see the pretty little OK like you're normally used to in Fedora or Red Hat systems. It's just going to say, you know, I'm starting. But at least this can give you some, what is it? What was it that failed to load in here before? akmods.service. So that failed when I turned my laptop on, but it's LSB, so it's actually still in init. I probably don't need that. I can probably get rid of it because I'm not. This isn't an NVIDIA system. This is an Intel system. I'm not building kernel module drivers for the display, so I could probably spend some more time doing that. So you can actually, in the kill portion, I forgot to mention, you can actually send the actual signal to the service. So you don't have to figure out what the PID is for the kill, as well as just help it. Hey, just help this guy. Do it. We're all straight with this so far. Okay. So, the blame game. This is where you can start to do the analyzation. So, system D analyze blame. All right. So here's your times on your boot up in milliseconds. Well, I have Bluetooth. I need Bluetooth. I'm going to leave that in there. Well, it's a good thing I got rid of iSCSI D. It was one that was taking a longer time.
Almost 4 seconds.
Yeah.
Do you do IP6?
No. So I could turn IP6 off.
Yep.
Save a couple of
Um,
here.
LARC, I'm not using a remote. I could probably just get rid of that whole service. Provoxy I do use. But, yeah, most of that stuff, you can... It's really kind of nice to see that it's gathering this information for you. And what was the, plot?
You have plotted.
Let's see how big this guy is. So, this is going to be really hard to see. But there's your chart of time. In a format that might be more visual for you. 11,000 by 3165. That's a pretty long image.
11,000. 1,100.
No, 11099 by 3165.
I'm missing a one.
It's over here on the side.
Isn't it scale?
Yes.
Oh, sweet.
I just can't read anything. That's why I zoomed it in. But you can manipulate a little bit more. But that I didn't know that this existed until I started reading into this. I thought that was really kind of cool.
Okay, what was the grant?
It's
Analyze, blame, and then you were
yeah, analyze and then blame. You can look for the seconds, and then the plot does the output. So you're essentially wanting to disable the services you don't need, mask the ones you'll never ever use, because the dependencies may not allow you to remove them, and then just, like I said earlier, analyze your boot time to measure your gains between boots. So you could really get kind of a stickler as to, I really want my laptop to boot. Can't wait. No time.
See if I can get it as fast as my iPad.
Yeah.
Or faster.
Yep. So, you can use the status command as part of the debug to figure out why a service may have failed, and you can use the standard logging to see more information based upon that. Not,
And this is going up on the website, right?
yeah,
Good.
no problem. Observations. Adding dot service to the end of a name is unnecessary overhead. In Fedora, you can still use service name start. That's essentially my only real gripe, is the fact that you're typing the word service. If they had done it like .s or .d, service or daemon, I wouldn't have had that problem. But it's okay. I mean, I'll get around it. I'll use service, name start.
We'll get used to it.
You get used to it. No GUI for service configuration. Remember how you used to be able to go to system config services and uncheck and do stuff like that? I don't remember where it is. I have not been able to find it. But it reminds me of GDM setup, which was last seen in Fedora 8, where you could customize the login screen, which doesn't exist anymore. And it hasn't been rewritten since. So those are the only two real sad things I've gotten out of this.
Well, through 20 years, he'll be agreed.
This was supposed to go in Fedora 15. Well, actually, 14. And it was in partial in 15, and now it's full in 16. So it was moved back a little bit. What's that?
What, System D?
System D, yeah.
Now I know what I'm doing when I see redirected to System CTL.
Mm-hmm. Just play with it. You know? Let's get rid of the this guy. I like the fact that it auto pages for you. Yep. Odd thing in a Toshiba laptop. Most Toshibas would usually come with 5400 RPM drives, which is why I replaced it with a 72. I could probably mess with Fuse a little bit sometime too. I don't necessarily need cups on a laptop unless I'm getting ready to use it. So I could just set that one to disabled. Are you using ABRT? Anybody using? You don't have that, do you, Dave? ABRT. Okay. It essentially will give you, if something seg faults, it'll capture it and let you submit it to like Bugzilla for testing. There's two ways to do it. You can do the S-trace, the old tried and true, right?
Would that put on Bithora?
Probably. So I was maybe thinking we'll talk about that in a moment. But if you really want to use the power of ABRT, you need to tell it to use the debug RPMs. And I have never done it because when I've chosen that option, it says, you have 300 packages to install. I'm just not that willing to spend that much time to install that many packages to submit a bug report. Now, granted, I have one bug in my home system that's been bothering me that I've not been able to fix. But maybe we'll talk about it here in a moment. So, that was pretty much my last slide. I know that was kind of short and sweet, but I want to leave the advanced stuff for a different time because it gets kind of really, it gets weird. There's a lot of stuff that you can do, and I don't want you to get too much into it right now. So, let me describe my weird problem at home. I'm using a built-in Ethernet on my motherboard. I have a gigabyte board. After I boot the system, the network doesn't come up.
What chipset?
I knew you were going to ask me that.
What are you running?
Going to a big blue place.
After you boot the.
It is a Realtek 8111
What distro are you running?
Fedora 16. This was a fresh install. In December, I did a fresh install from scratch. It was doing it on 15. It did not do it on 14. But 15 and 16, it does it. And you want to know how I fix it?
Restart the network.
No. I run ethtool and say port TP, and it comes up in about a minute.
Is there a power save feature by chance?
It's possible. I hadn't thought of that. But what could be enabling it? I wonder. Because the local host is there. The device is there. It doesn't have an IP. It knows the device is there. So I'll bring the system up, and my NFS stuff will take forever because it can't find a network. And then I'll do an Control Alt F2 and get into a terminal and just run my command because it took me a week or two to figure this out. But I've not been able to find something very similar to this in any forum. And it's just my desktop. It's no other system in my house.
Just don't ever turn it off.
Well, if it weren't for the fact that there's a certain bug between Flash and NVIDIA, I wouldn't turn it off. But
That never happens.
the last Flash update that we're ever going to put out for Linux,
Right.
all the people are blue in it. Now, is that an NVIDIA problem, or is that a Flash problem? Apparently, if you disable hardware acceleration in Flash, the problem goes away. So, but that's a whole different thing.
Can you just put your fix in and start it?
Yeah, that's what I just need to do. But I have to do it at the right spot. And that was part of why I wanted to learn System D, is where I could stick that stuff, because RC Local really doesn't exist. So I have to write my own service file to do it. Or change part of the network scripts. Now if I change the network scripts, if they update the network, then my change goes away.
Then it'll .rpm new.
Yeah. So you guys are intently looking at your devices. I might.
You know, I'm trying to attempt to figure out. Logs don't have any. I tried but failed.
No.
Can't be that hard to
So
say.
if you- It's configuring it just, you see it, but you don't, it just didn't configure it.
The only thing I don't have is like that.
Is there a way to call it?
Actually, these two. I don't get the address. Everything else is there. There's no receive packets, no transmit packets, obviously, but I do ls mod. It's there. It sees the device. Let me see. Oh, it's not ETH, is it? It's P20. So yeah, link down. Link is not ready. Link up. Link becomes ready. So it's
It's
almost like it's resetting it.
It's not coming active before you start.
Yeah. Ooh, I need to run FS check on my external. Ha ha ha. But that's the only time that that device appears in the D message. But it's actually an ART in 8169 because it's a gigabit. Now, if I think about it,
You could put a reboot in your cron tab.
yeah.
Cron tab is a brute force.
Surprised I don't have this command installed. Now that'll take forever. This is my little Atom system. It's an actual Intel Atom motherboard. It was their first mini ITX board that they put out.
I think if I get any ITX boards.
Oops. That's the only one I ever bought for home use because it was cheap. It was like 89 bucks. Yes.
Are you running this at gigabit speeds?
Yes. Is there a timing issue with when it switches?
I'll bet you. Try setting it to 100 meg when it initializes.
See if it'll.
I'll bet it'll work. What kind of switch are you plugged into?
It's a D-Link gig switch, the $65.
I'll bet you.
It's just not. It can't auto train up the. Okay.
I've seen that before, but not with the real-time driver cards.
Hmm.
Usually it's Broadcom and Cisco equipment.
Okay. Well, good to mention that today, wasn't it?
Well, let me.
Oh,
know
I'll
if it
try
works,
it.
but
We'll see. Yeah. Yeah.
We've seen that before. What we did is we have it initialize 100 meg, and then after it boots, we redo it with F2 everything's fine. Gigabits.
Which is essentially what I'm doing. You know. Hey.
Hello.
So how am I?
So you have to do that manually every time?
Yeah.
Why don't you just?
I'm going to. It's just I only reboot like
Haven't got
every.
around to it.
Like I said, it's like every 30 to 45 days I'm rebooting, and that's it. So it's like, you know, it's 5 seconds here, and maybe later I'll do it. But every time a kernel comes out, I'm hoping this is the one. It fixes it. It takes care of it.
Until the next time.
Till the next time. So
I always fix crap like that, especially when it's at home, because I have to ask my wife to reboot something, and then it's like.
okay, myth people.
Okay. I have so I was looking for some cheap myth hardware for my daughter to build her a system. So I found a Dell Pentium 4 3.0. It's an Optiplex desktop.
Yeah.
and it's got 2 gig of RAM in it, and picked up a couple of SATA drives. Picked up a larger SATA drive. Came with an 80 gig, and I picked up a 250 green used from it's 250 gig Western Digital green drive. Okay, well, so I built the system, I got it configured.
What's your tuner card?
It's a Poggy 350 analog, you know. Goes into
Okay.
Cox
You're just doing
analog.
cable TV.
Just doing cable TV. It's got a coax connection that says FM, and a coax connection that says TV.
Yep, that's a dual, one's FM tuner.
I did TV, and I got a signal.
Okay.
I could watch TV. Okay, great.
We're
So-
using US cable HRC.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm at US Cable HRC. I can't think of, I pretty much pulled the settings off my other Myth box that I have
Yeah.
and just duplicated those. There are a few extra things in this version of Myth TV that weren't around before, but none of them look like they look like convenience settings rather than technical settings. Things like backups and
Oh, yeah.
downloading and stuff like that. Anyway, I got the listings downloaded from the TV.
Schedules Direct, yeah.
Schedules Direct, and I set it up to record, and I said, record about 15 shows, and let it sit in the basement for a week. And it stayed up for a week, and it recorded all 15 shows. I can see all 15 shows. I've got files for all 15 shows. I do not have a video card in this machine. I'm using the standard video off the motherboard at this point. So,
Are you using it to play back the videos?
yes,
All right.
I'm just playing the videos through that back onto a monitor right now. So I go to pick the first program, and I start it up, and it runs for about a minute, and the whole system reboots. It just
You tried
restart.
copying the video file over to another computer to play?
I have not tried that.
If
I did, so I took the green drive, I had set up the storage so that all the video was being stored on the larger drive. So I figured, the heck with that, I had another SATA drive that was just like a little 150 gig. I reinstalled on that, so I wasn't using a green drive, and got the same results. So I've eliminated the drive. I haven't eliminated, things I haven't eliminated is when it puts the video out, there's something on the motherboard, but I can't find anything in the logs.
okay.
I mean, it's just,
The Myth TV logs.
I've tried
Normal
Myth TV.
starting.
It's probably heat related, because I think I saw that on the list too.
It can also be memory.
Yeah.
Well, you said you tested the memory, right?
Well, I ran mem tests on the memory for a day.
Just take one of the sticks out.
Okay. And it will
Right.
run on a gig.
Run it. Yeah, it'll run a gig.
Okay.
Mem test, you ran like a memory test for the day.
Low end.
I've never had mem test record a stick of memory that's bad, I knew was bad.
Oh, I've had it.
This is how I finally solved my memory problem on my old board.
Okay.
It wasn't the board, it was one of the sticks. I just took one out and ran it. It failed. Took that one out, put the other one in, ran it, was fine.
Okay.
Just,
I'll do that test next.
Yeah,
That's an
do
easy
that one.
test to do. I can
Okay.
do that tonight before I go to
there
bed.
used to be a plugin for Totem that, and maybe it's not a plugin anymore, I think it will play Myth TV stuff.
Okay.
It will see the UPnP that Myth should be putting out if you've got that turned on, and you should be able to play it. If you have a Windows box, there's Myth TV Player that you can easily install and hit it,
Okay.
and that'll test you just streaming the video to another machine.
Okay.
Because it takes the video card out of the mix, right?
It takes the video card out of the mix.
Right.
So all you're doing is doing the MPEG stream, and MPEG is a stream because you're using a 350. So
Okay.
I would try that.
Can always-
Do you want to take a card with you? I have my old myth cards upstairs, I believe. Is there AGP in the?
Well, this thing doesn't, it has only the basic AGP slot.
Yeah, I have an AGP card.
Teeny tiny one. So all the video cards I have are PCI based. And I'm
When you
not
mean
sure
really
they're
teeny tiny, how big?
About 3 inches.
Yeah, they're.
Okay. When you say teeny tiny, I think of this,
Yeah.
which is
Well,
PCI
it's like about
Express.
the same length as a 32-bit PCI. Just like
Yeah,
slightly
okay.
smaller.
It's just a reversed PCI as AGP. So, I think I have an NVIDIA MX 400 upstairs,
Okay.
and
I can give that a shot and
yeah,
let you know.
I'll just have to check. I thought I brought them from home because I didn't need them, so. And they're passive,
What kind of memory is that?
80s.
probably
What?
266. It's either 266, probably.
I don't remember.
I shouldn't do that in front of the camera. So I was looking
might
for
have
that
some of
plug-in.
sitting around somewhere.
I thought there was a plug-in, but I might be wrong. It's been a while.
So that's mine.
So we check the memory and we'll do the video.
Okay.
That's the two things to check.
All right.
Now, Joe,
I don't know
you're
if it's-
trying to capture with USB.
I'm trying to find a way to capture from USB because the little computer or whatever that we bought for this test. We have a $300 basically budget. Okay? Trying to get it where we can take a video signal, capture it as an MPEG-4, and be able to adjust the bit rates on it.
On the fly?
No, well, no, okay, excuse me. Put the bit rate on it, but have it where we can adjust the keyframes
Okay.
in the video. We had a Hobbage 1212, which is a standalone little box. And we could set it up and we could record things, where we could record it at, 3 megs a second or 2.5 megs or, megs a second or whatever. Up to 5, up to 10, whatever. But the quality wasn't there as far as the person that had to review these things was concerned when they compared it to a DVD. As far as looking at lettering and sharpness and everything else. Well, we found in another process through the video system that we have that costs bazillions of dollars, more than 300 easily, that the more keyframes you have in it makes it a bigger file, but it also gives you that quality in there where you can tell like the lettering looks a lot.
You don't have you have less artifacting happening because it keeps resetting your frames because you have more keyframes.
Right. So what the end goal of this is we want to be able to send these boxes or this dongle or whatever it is out to our providers that might be in Croatia, Macedonia, wherever, have them hook it into their satellite receivers, record the MPEG-4, H.264 as a broadcast as a MPEG-4, H.264 file.
To stream it back to you.
And then FTP it up to us and back down, as opposed to having it FTP.
So they're doing the capture locally, then they have to send you the capture file.
Right, as opposed to them having to send us an MPEG-2, which takes a lot longer, and so forth. And the reason we were looking at doing it in Linux is because of the budget.
Mhm.
Was,
If you could get a Raspberry Pi to do it, then
yeah,
I don't think that's going to have enough bandwidth. But what cards have you looked at besides the USB adapter?
well, because the box we got was just a little net top box, kind of net top that's about this big. Okay, it doesn't have room for a card itself. It has room for a hard drive, and that's about it, and memory.
Okay.
So that's why we went with the USB dongle.
I don't think you're going to be able to push that amount of bandwidth for H.264 over USB. I don't think you have the speed to do it.
And see, I was able to record stuff, but everything came in out. It's either black and white or PAL or something that, for the small test I've been able to do.
Yeah.
I did hook up a
We're using like one of those what's it, ITV tuner things, or
Yeah.
Well, you're getting an MPEG too, and then you're turning it into H.264.
he's trying to do H.264 without the conversion.
We're trying to avoid the MPEG 2 completely.
So where is how's it captured?
They're capturing it directly from the feed, right?
Capture it from the feed.
So they'll be able to tie in right into the satellite dish of the provider.
So
Here's
That looks like one of those Pinnacle things.
Here's one dongle. This is called a Easy Cap, because I searched first to see if there was a USB for Linux, and they said this was. Well, the trick is you can configure it if you get one that has supposedly, and you got to do a lot of
The specific
hacking.
chipset.
Yes, and this has the incorrect chipset, but you don't know that until after you buy it.
Because it's based upon supply and demand. Hey, we need to buy some new parts. Some are better than the others.
And then here's the actual box we were trying to.
That's pretty cool.
Okay. So that's
Let me bring it up for the camera.
I don't see FireWire. There's HDMI, but no
So
FireWire.
the feed they're getting is, what format is that in?
It's probably, it's gonna be PAL.
Realtek RTL 8191.
So it's an analog feed that's.
So
It's either off a satellite receiver, which could be a digital feed coming into a satellite receiver. At that point,
Yeah, boxing.
or off a terrestrial antenna.
Is it standard definition?
So-
video?
It will be.
It's an
standard
Atom
definition.
board,
Okay.
wireless built-in, HDMI and VGA out.
And what I did get to work, which is even kind of amazing, is the dazzle. But like I say, everything comes out in black and white, or appears to be PAL.
Have you looked at the security industry
We're like,
for capture the cards that they use
Yeah.
and some of their stuff?
only glancing over kind of.
ZoneMinder is a Linux project. It runs on Linux, and it does the whole, security thing with lots of cameras. But where was there?
Does it do video full speed?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Where'd their shop go? Okay.
That's there.
Was it?
Yeah, the top. Right next to Wiki.
That's what he.
That's what I
on to
clicked
get to this
on.
page.
Weird.
So anyway, that's too bad because there was specific cards. They had BNC connectors on the cards that were like 4, 8, or whatever inputs, and usually the encoders were in the card, and then Linux just saw it as a dev video device, similar to Wappage, kind of thing.
So the card itself encodes it to
The desired output, yeah, because you always want the card to do it because then it offloads all the processing off the computer. And because he's going to be converting and uploading it anyway, the box isn't going to have enough time to record and send at the same time, especially in Atom.
And we don't, they can record it, store it, and then have to see it after it's done. It doesn't have to.
I wish I knew where the. They used to have just a great big link to their hardware, so you even have pan and tilt controls and stuff like that. But they had a 4-port card that you could just plug stuff into, and you got the output out of it. They even went up to 16 cards. had like a big high density connector, and then like 16 BNC connectors coming off of it. It should.
If it had a B and C, I bet it's no audio.
Probably no audio.
But that gives you something, at least.
But their
something.
standard cards were just like the same chipset as the Hauppauge stuff. So it's just a matter of,
Because I think I did find something with a ZM or a zone monitor was mentioned in something when I searched.
so take a look with like Linux, USB, and security capture, because you might find something related to that you might be able to use. I've never done any video stuff with USB just because the bandwidth isn't there. In terms of like live stuff, you know, it's always been copying a file after the fact. Have you tried that on Windows, the Dazzle, to see if it produces the same output?
I've crashed the Windows side of things probably 3 or 4 times too.
But was the output in color?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, and at one point.
That might be a firmware issue, because you have to you have to upload the firmware into the Hauppauge card. You may have to do the same thing with the Dazzle.
Yeah. Well, I did get it to work with some other stuff finally today, but it does not plug into Impact 4, which is what I need.
Okay.
And even if it does me good, that's not gonna guarantee that whatever provider we send it to is gonna have the technical skills to
Yeah,
do something.
and you're going to want your solution to be all in one box.
Pretty
You
much
don't want to be able to have pieces that can get broken
plug,
off.
Plug and pray and
Yeah.
that's,
Do most of these firms going to have like rack-mounted stuff? If they're a network or a television provider?
we got one guy in Macedonia that pays, I don't know, the Macedonian mafia or
To stay up?
or whatever, to allow him on his apartment to have all these dishes. Like he has like 50 dishes or a bunch of dishes on his balcony. So, and we have people in Africa that, just barely have a connection and may not have connection for, might not have electricity for 4 days,
Wow.
that kind of thing. So, I can't.
You
tell
always have the most interesting problems
I
and
can't-
solutions,
I
Joe.
can't tell you that it's going to be a picnic for everybody, but it makes it interesting. Let's see, we got some places where they can't send us videotapes or DVDs or anything else out of the country. They have to either be able to put it up FTP, or we don't get it, or we use some kind of service like WeTransfer or some other thing like that. We have other people that, to work with this country, we have to go through, like Norway or.
Another country that might
Finland
be
or
on better
whatever.
terms with them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or we have to get special rights to work with Cuba or Serbia or wherever the heck it is. Or or
Syria?
We'll get some, we're starting to get some neat stuff. We're getting a newspaper, we've only got one, from the Syrian opposition. So we don't know where they're located necessarily,
Yeah.
but we know it's coming from somewhere. And
Tom, you want me to show your device?
we can't, we don't wanna know anymore, because we don't wanna jeopardize their
Want to
lives.
look it up and see if it works?
Yeah.
Oh, I've got one of USB.
This is an OB high. That's the 202. This is the OB202. Okay? Get your network in your phone. Right? It's a voice adapter.
Works with Google Voice.
Works with Google Voice.
Interesting.
Yeah. So let's do a little live demo and see what we can do. Okay, can you flip that thing around?
Yes, I can. Get a good picture of.
I'll see what I can do. I'll play around with that, save you some time.
The OB High 202 works with Google Voice. Has 4 SIP accounts on it. was on special on Amazon for 79 or 75? 75 bucks
Free shipping.
with free shipping.
Always important.
Let's see if it gets a connection here.
Takes a minute.
So the power light will come on when it's trained up.
You should get a, yeah. It's almost there.
So this is local network.
It's working. Here.
You can always dial the phone back in, or you can give me the number.
What is the number?
I don't remember the number back.
Well,
That's the problem. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, I do. I got it in my thing here.
Why won't you answer me? Hello? This is your cell phone. What do you think? You're just not gonna answer me? You keep me.
So, so that's pretty cool.
A little
The
echo.
fact that, just like Vonage, right?
Yeah.
This
Exactly.
little box.
you have to set up an account with Obi by,
Do you lease a number from them?
no, it's Google Voice.
Okay.
So you got a Google Voice number.
Yeah, you just have to make sure you have the Google Chat turned on, because that's how it
Yeah.
works properly. And you can't have it set up with IP Groove or anything like that for Android, otherwise weird things happen.
IP Groove.
Or Groove IP, sorry.
Okay.
It's VoIP for the Android to let you make inbound and outbound calls
Oh.
with
Oh,
Google Voice.
but it does have to go over pods at some point.
No,
Not this portion.
on Google's end, yeah.
They handle that part of it.
Yeah, and you said that it won't work with Groove or VoIP for Android.
No. You can't have your phone, your Google or your Android set up to use
You can't
IP
use the
Groove
same-
or Groove IP or
Oh,
whatever
set
it
that
is.
on
Yeah,
for
with your
Voice.
Google Voice account. Yeah.
Okay.
It'll do 2 POTS lines. I haven't tested it yet, but I do believe it'll work with fax. It's supposed to be T38 compatible, and I was going to try it with a modem, and I haven't had a chance to do that
I pulled one out of storage last week. I was going to use it upstairs.
It has a USB port that is supposed to have some functionality at a later time. I don't know what that is. So.
Well, it has a second network port.
It will work as a router.
Oh,
FXO or,
interesting.
does it have a, can you use it as like a, well, how to explain that? Never mind.
If you have a asterisk box and you have like a Digium card, a 4-port Digium card,
Right.
you can just back-to-back it and get it into your asterisk box, or you can set up a SIP account to do it.
Okay.
So it'll do SIP in and out as far as I know. I haven't tried it yet.
So can you use it without it? Can you use with asterisk without a Digium card?
Yeah,
Can
you
go
could.
straight from that.
From the
Yeah, you
SIP,
should be able
just
to
the
with
SIP
a SIP
portion.
account, yeah.
And just attach it as an account.
Right, it would let you, instead of forwarding the Google Voice account to one of the analog ports, you forward it to another SIP account, so it would ring through to the,
Right.
yeah, that's what you're supposed to be able to do with it. Was it Michigan Telephone,
I think so.
that the website, that, he's a big, Obi High guy, so.
It's pretty cool. Wish I'd known about it last summer.
Yeah.
I've got a Digium card and tracking problems that I was playing with, but it seems like I don't use it anymore because it seems like everybody has cell phones.
Is it FXO?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's just basically plug your phone on and do it. I had it so that I had a Magic Jack going from that to the FXO port as a Digium card,
Right.
which is like, I don't know.
Hey,
Trying
I
to
mean,
get Cox to, what drives me nuts is Cox is, it goes from digital to analog, and then if you wanna switch it from analog to digital, you have to switch it back to use it it's void, which is kind of.
Now, about a year ago, I talked to a COTS rep, and they were saying that they were experimenting with SIP accounts,
They were talking
providing
about
SIP
talking
connections
about
for
it,
people.
But they've been working on it for a while.
Okay.
For like 3 years, every time, I've talked to them a couple times, because it seems stupid to have like a whole analog setup, coming from Cox.
Cox digital telephone?
Yeah, you have it, basically, it's like you've got, they probably have a modem buried in the ground, and it just turns it into like your analog telephone system in your business.
That's what that phone's hooked up to.
The box on the outside of your house does that, basically.
Yeah, so
It's a converter.
why couldn't it's so much easier just to like bypass all that copper crap and
Yeah.
go directly to,
Actually, the biggest reason I got the 2-port version is because I want to hook that into my alarm system, my security system at
Nice.
home, and bypass, but some of the security companies there aren't too keen on that. And you can't do 911 with it, obviously.
Yeah, the one thing that I had somebody ask me about was, because I told them about this, and they're like, that reminds me, my security system doesn't dial a 10-digit number. I need to get it reprogrammed.
Yeah, that
It's like, yeah. So,
hopefully it's at least dialing a 3-digit.
Well, actually,
could you that interpret it and redial it?
this will take care of it for you.
Okay.
It will prepend the 402 if you wanted to. You can
Okay.
put whatever area code you
I'll
want
have to tell him that.
to prepend, yeah, so you don't have to just, well, here, simple. 7-digit dial, it should work.
Testing.
It's not ringing.
So it's flashing that it's
No,
off.
I got a fast busy. It's supposed to do that.
Okay. Well,
It is set up to do that.
it's just the dial plan. I mean, I had that when I programmed that Polycom upstairs. I forgot one pattern, so you could dial long distance, you could dial extensions, but you could not dial local 10 digits. I just had to reprogram the phone because on the Polycom it's on the phone, not
Right.
in the system.
Right.
So, but it sounds amazing. Okay, I think that's it.
Mama's calling back.
Your mom's calling.
Just a chat.
She just wants to chat.
2 minutes talking about the cat.
All right, that's it for tonight. Thank you, home viewers.
I suppose I better call her back.
So, who's talking next month?
Dave is.
I could do a short talk on ABCDE. I don't think.
Okay,
I think it's a 15.
I can dust off my podcast thing. We could have that as part of it.
Okay.
I've done that in the past. It just needs to be updated because there's so much different stuff. And I can try to say, here is how I do podcasts now. So we'll do that. So thanks everybody.
Thank you.
Dave next month. Bye.